Hello, everyone. My name is Igor Tomych, and today we are merchant payment ecosystem in Berlin, and we're discussing with the panelists and the speakers whatever is happening in the market. I think it's important point to reflect and see what is going on. So today with me, Neira Jones. So hello, Neira. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. Thanks for having me today.
And Neira is well known being the consultant and advisor and author. So in this case, we have three cool questions for you today.
I look forward to it.
Since you're moderator of this stablecoin quietly going live, there are a lot of questions about the hype and real value, especially with the stablecoins.
Yes.
And the first question is actually, what does trust and resilience mean in practice for the merchant payment leader this year?
Well, essentially to me, trust and resilience actually mean starting to design for the bad days instead of the sunny ones.
That's true.
It's having a good continuity plan that's not just a slide deck.
Yeah.
It's actually really, really meaning it so that instead of sending an email when things go bad, you have real communication and a real plan decided when that really, really big dependency is going to hit and fail badly. How do you actually recover from that? Because the ecosystem players, which are increasingly interconnected in the overextended value chain that we have in payments, when something goes bad in the ecosystem, many stakeholders are affected. So how do you recover from that? It's about understanding your stack.
Yeah.
And where that can actually fail.
And business process, because that's what we learned from COVID and full-scale invasion of Russia to Ukraine, because we understand. As a Ukrainian, I understand that a lot of stress tests of the systems were done that time.
Absolutely.
So the second question that I have for today is which area is moving fast from hype to real value? Because a lot of things are popping up on the market, like AI, agentic payments, a lot of things as a stablecoin. So what do you think which is moving to the real value for the merchants for sure?
Well, certainly for me, and perhaps surprisingly, since there is a lot of hype in the industry, what's already moving and has moved from hype to value is actually A2A. In my opinion, we've already experienced deployment at scale in Brazil, in India. Very first up, this is a major success story, and of course, very promisingly, we have Europe. In Europe, which actually shows good sign of actually moving the needle. Now, of course, everybody talks about agentic commerce and stable coins. I don't see that as moving as yet from hype to reality, although there are good moves. And you mentioned identity in your question earlier on. It's about building the stack first. And when I look in Brazil specifically, there was an announcement today regarding their decentralized, open source decentralized trust infrastructure for identity. They already have an A2A stack.
Yeah.
So it's about understanding your stack. And to me, A2A just picks that.
Yeah, actually, I think understanding that even with having an ability to do the account-to-account payments, it can be extended with the other functionality as identity checks, because then it drives more value, because the more business process there, the cheaper it is for the merchant.
And that's exactly it.
And the last one for today, what risk you think the industry is still underestimating?
Well, I think perhaps surprisingly for me, concentration risk is actually underestimated because in the industry, we rely on, I would say, small amount of very large players, which play a very important part in the ecosystem. So answering the question of what do we do when one of these very large players on which many organizations actually depend go bad, especially in the current climate that you've mentioned earlier on. We've got all the geopolitical tensions and everything else. So, and we're faced with potential failure. What do we do when that happens? Because we have so much concentration in the industry. And I think there's not enough talk about that.
And I think European Union is kind of preparing for that by forcing DORA and then listing the critical parts of the infrastructure. Like the last year was the first year when actually the cloud vendors were marked as a critical infrastructure for the fintech. that shows a good understanding of the movement in that way.
So yeah, more talk about concentration risk, I think, would be a good thing. And you see that in many geography by looking at critical third-party providers and so on.
Thank you today for discussing all those topics with us, and thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure.